we thought that this would be over shortly in this conflict, but it turns out we may be looking at a longer conflict than we initially thought. This might take months or years if it were to finally end, but we do know that it will finally end with the Islamic Republic finally being overthrown. A couple of days ago on this stream, we told you guys that the Ukrainian armed forces attacked and destroyed weapon shipments from the Russians to the IRGC. And we know that most of the Persian Gulf Arab countries are also being drawn into this conflict. In fact, most countries in the Middle East are being drawn in. Pakistan just signed a new defense agreement with Kuwait, so it also provides defense for Saudi Arabia and now Kuwait. More and more countries are being drawn in. The Islamic Republic is a proxy for China and Russia. It's very interconnected. And the worrisome part for me, and I want to know what you think, Armin, what I'm worried about is that the longer this conflict takes is not really an issue, but it's the more countries that are being drawn into this conflict. Every country has its own set of priorities and objectives to accomplish. Something that particularly worries me is that the countries around Iran will create a buffer zone of sorts. The longer this conflict is carried out, the more, twisted and complicated it gets. Countries like Turkey or others may want to create a buffer zone, and they will take land from Iran to create this buffer zone. Do you think that's a possibility?
I mean, I wasn't thinking about it until now, so thank you for putting that thought in my head. Where did you get this idea from?
I took a look at the conflict as a whole last night. I kind of zoomed out, went through all my notes, went through all of our maps that we've created. And when I looked at what Israel is doing in South Lebanon with that buffer zone, I kind of thought about, and then I went through the Turkey news. But as soon as I read the Turkey news, it kind of clicked in my head that there are some powers here that are perhaps waiting to take a piece of Iran for themselves and call it a buffer zone, maybe 50, 100 kilometers in. The more
Well,
countries
here's
that
the
were
thing.
getting drawn in. Yeah.
So maybe no, because the Islamic Republic would love that, because that was the Iranian people really care about their border integrity, and nothing will make the Iranians. Nothing has the chance. I mean, I'm saying the chance is high of the Iranian people working as marketing for the Islamic Republic for the Iranians to switch their priorities to something else rather than regime change, more than threats to their border security. However, the Iranian people do also, I understand that the greatest threat to the border security is the Islamic Republic, because none of this would happen if the Islamic Republic was not in power.
Yeah.
But given how many times the Islamic Republic has used threats to border integrity as a way to try to um, get attention away from regime change and towards other enemies that are coming, because the Iranian people consider the Islamic Republic to be their enemy, their main enemy, with a huge margin from anyone else, right? But if anybody wants to attack Iran's border integrity, the Islamic Republic would love that as an opportunity to introduce an enemy that is not the Islamic Republic, right? So this might be a miscalculation. Like, I hope, like, I don't know how much the Turkish intelligence knows about these things, but this would work in favor of the Islamic Republic if they try to do something like that.
And that may be why it's important to draw these neutral or sort of countries that are hawkish and waiting for an opportunity back into orbit of the United States with these new deals that are going on. I don't necessarily want more countries involved in this unless they, the conflict ends sooner. I just don't want to be a trigger for a potential World War III. We're even seeing countries like Ukraine get involved. But regardless, this conflict still has more to go. And we just saw that President Trump withheld this operation on Friday night. And now you have media like the New York Times coming out and saying, yeah, it was actually because the Patriot missile interceptors, the United States doesn't have enough interceptors. That's why we called off the war. In my opinion, it's exactly the sort of thing that the White House would leak to media on purpose. And then the New York Times, takes the story, they spread it, everyone believes it. And as a result, Trump gets more maneuverability, gets more room to play around with this sort of information, saying, "Oh yeah, we called off the operation because we didn't have enough missile interceptors." When in reality, it could be something else entirely. They can play this tune however they want with these sort of leaks. And in particular, in war, there's a strategy of appearing weak when you're strong. This is one of those intentional deceptions, in my opinion. I think you heard about that news. And even though we saw all of these, massive airlifts coming in and the US putting new orders in for interceptors, what do you think? Do you think that was really the reason?
I think it's true that they're running low on certain munitions. I mean, we we mentioned this before, that this is one of the reasons why they're not interested in escalating right now. This is a failure of the Biden administration that didn't ramp up production on some of these missile interceptors. Um, and it's true that this is. I think it's true that that's a major one of the major limitations. It's one of the four M's. Remember, so when it comes to you know anything that uh, the United States is not limited at all when it comes to being able to destroy what they need within the Islamic Republic. When it comes to defense, they probably have enough right now to be able to defend against the Islamic Republic, but it is getting to low enough levels for them to not be ready in case something else happens around the world. So I do think they are. It is true that they're getting to critical low levels. And remember, guys, the four M's that limits the United States to some extent is markets, media, munition, and midterms, right? And different. Some of them have more of an effect, some of them have less an effect. So munitions was one of the four M's that we have been talking about for a time. So I don't think it's that far off. They might be exaggerating it. You might be right, but I don't think it's completely um, irrelevant. Um, we discussed this in our group call earlier today in our group discussion. By the way, if you guys want to, if you guys want to join our group discussion, the QR code is in the top left, and the link is in the description as well. Amu Jeff in the group call, he was suggesting that this is true. However, if we wanted to just, instead of doing this tit for tat with the Islamic Republic, if you just go for uh, immediate trying to escalate to the level where you just take out whatever is remaining of the Islamic Republic, there is a way to do this where you wouldn't need much of a defense munitions. Again, that's what Jeffrey was saying in the group call. So obviously, I don't know how true that is, but just wanted to make sure that you guys know that. Like, I do think if you just hit the regime hard enough for the Iranian people to be able to finish the job, then the Islamic Republic would be too busy dealing with an armed uprising of the Iranian people that it wouldn't it wouldn't make sense for it at that point to start shooting at U.S. bases around the Persian Gulf. So I don't know how fast that could be done, but I don't think that the White House is going to go for that right now. There is a plan. It seems like there is a plan for major escalation. It might get delayed, but it cannot be avoided. But the major escalation is not at that level. The major escalation seems to suggest that they are planning to do major operations in maybe southern Iran, take over some islands. I mean, at least this was the plan. It's canceled. We'll see whether or not Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit to the White House is going to make them come up with a new plan. But that would require a lot of defense
Right.
missiles. One thing I want to ask, I know you want to get to the next topic, but I just want to say this: it is also possible that the Prime Minister's visit to the White House might be a misdirection. It
Yeah.
might. I'm not saying it's not, but you have to. I'm not saying it is, but you have to consider the option that it might be a way for the Islamic Republic to think that there's not going to be an attack while Prime Minister Netanyahu's meeting with Trump, and then they might attack exactly then. So it might be a misdirection as well.
They absolutely could. I think the leader of Hezbollah was actually assassinated while Bibi was not in Israel at the time. He was on a meeting. Um,
Exactly. It's
you
in the
know,
UN.
yeah, yeah, you're right. So, here's Brad Cooper, and he just went and told from the White House, he told the reporters that I don't think we should do this because we don't have enough missile interceptors. And that's the headlines. But in the flip side, he also said, and I actually have the article, he also said something on the complete opposite side, which people are completely ignoring. So he also said this, which several officials, said Admiral Brad Cooper, believe the U.S. can cope with the limited stocks of Patriot and other air defense interceptors because stepped up U.S. strikes, if they are approved, would blunt Iran's ability to launch large numbers of missiles. What does that mean? It means we're just going to hit them and destroy them faster than they can launch missiles. That's the whole, one of the basic principles of war is that the best defense is a good offense. Just destroy them. They can't launch them. He said that at the same part, and people are not focusing on that. They're focusing more on the other one, the other side of the narrative, which the New York Times is pushing, which makes me think it's a very intentional leak by the White House here. Not to say it's not a limitation, it's just a very intentional leak, in my opinion, here. So it got postponed, right, Armin? And we don't know when exactly this operation can kick back off. It could be at any time. I have a idea at what the United States plan generally is here. Sorry, there's something stuck in my throat. I think that United States absolutely has a plan, and that
Yep.
plan becomes more clear when you look at the money. I'm always a big proponent of saying, hey, follow where the money and the economics of things are going. So let's take a couple look at these things. One, the oil production by the United States by the end of Donald Trump's term is set to increase by 10 million barrels per day, which is an insane number. Why do you guys think that Donald Trump is pushing for this massive exporting of oil? On one hand, the United States doesn't really care if the Persian Gulf Arab countries and the Islamic Republic over, a little bit more time destroy each other's oil infrastructure to some extent. It's actually not very much detrimental to the United States as a country. It's detrimental to a lot of other countries. But the price of oil being high, the United States exporting more, maybe even production from the Middle East getting cut a little bit and the US bumping up the production, that's all more money that comes into the United States as a result of it. What do you think about that?
Wait, say that again.
The United States is boosting oil production by 10 million barrels a
But
day by the end
but
of Trump's
that's
term.
not gonna. But yeah, but that's gonna take a long time to have its effect. That's a long-term solution, isn't it?
Correct. So would it be crazy to say that if some of the infrastructure, the oil infrastructure in the Middle East is blown up,
Mm.
it's to the benefit of the United States long term?
Yeah,
I'm just trying to
I think.
highlight that. Yeah.
Mm. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm trying to highlight that each country has their own set of priorities.
Yes. No, I mean, okay. So one of the four M's was markets, right? So you're
Correct.
right that it makes a lot of sense for United States to find alternative sources of oil to fill the market, so that it and other countries could fill up their oil reserves, so they have enough cushion to go back into military operations. But if that's the plan, do you agree that means that this is going to take a lot longer? If that is the plan, that we're going to
If
be
that is
in
the
this
plan.
for the foreseeable future, yeah.
If that's the only factor in this plan, correct. But the most important factor, which Armin and I are experts in, are the Iranian people. We cannot control when the Iranian people have their next uprising. Countries can plan for this and that, but they cannot control human minds and hearts at the end of the day. As much as China tries to, and we will show you a clip of that later on of some futuristic technology and some restrictions that they've done in a specific city. Another thing, Some of that oil technology is only owned by the United States. So, for example, if you go into the ocean in the Persian Gulf and you start drilling from the water down into the seabed, that's actually only tech that the United States possesses. The Persian Gulf countries do not possess that tech. So, if you destroy their oil rigs there, they're screwed. They cannot build them back anytime soon until they develop them themselves. Ukraine has destroyed a majority of not only Russia's oil fleet, but also their oil refineries spanning all the way into Siberia. The longer this
which
conflict gets drawn out, yeah,
which adds to the difficulty because now Russian oil is not in the market as well, right?
absolutely. So this not only gives an opportunity for the US to long term devour that market share, but it would also be very, very good for Iran, for a free Iran. The sooner again that happens, it's to the benefit of Iran, it's to the detriment of the Persian Gulf Arab countries. Qatar wants a dumb, stupid, weak Islamic Republic in power. They don't want American companies coming in and investing in Iran. They want them coming and investing in Qatar. Um, the longer this conflict gets drawn out, the worse off of a position the Iranian people are, because as you guys know, the economic miseries in Iran are numerous. And in fact, I have this graphic for you guys from the Islamic Republic themselves stating that what is the population of Iran going to be like and what is the poverty line going to be like for Iranians. So this is going to be in Farsi, but we're just going to tell you what it means. So they're saying in the next 2 years here, 45% of the Iranian population will be under the poverty line. Keep in mind, this is Islamic Republic numbers. You know what that
So
means.
that's
Sorry?
worse. The real numbers are worse. It means that the real numbers are
Absolutely.
worse.
The real numbers are way worse. I would say we're probably past the 45% mark of poverty line at the moment, and we're going to be approaching maybe the 70% in 2 years from now. So this is absolutely bogus, hocus pocus. And as usual, the Iranian people are the victims of everything that's to happen here. Speaking of oil infrastructure on fire, we were able to see that the Houthis, who launched a major attack on Saudi oil 2 days ago, has been continuing. Aramco is still on fire. This would be the city of, I think it was Jazan. Their oil refinery right here is pretty much completely on fire. The oil storage here is on fire. So not the actual means to produce more oil, just the fuelage, the tankers that we told you guys the Houthis hit. And they hit that because they don't want to escalate things. They just want to hit the fuel storages and not the means of production there. We're actually able to see another 40 miles south. Sorry, what was it? South, yes. 40 miles south of this refinery, another Saudi refinery is also on fire. These satellites, the little red boxes that you see, indicate massive fires. The Saudis are not too happy about this. And I largely believe in the future we might see a lot of other oil refineries across the Middle East also come under attack and on fire, similar to Fujairah here, which has been targeted many times by the Islamic Republic. Armin, what kind of escalation are we looking at if these Persian Gulf Arab countries start seeing their infrastructure hit? What's the consequences of this?
Oh my God. The consequences is going to be that they would finally move towards getting more united against the Islamic Republic. They would not just be buying American and Ukrainian military equipment to attack the Islamic Republic. They will also hire Americans and Israel and Ukrainians to come do their job for them. There will probably be some other Arab countries that will say yes to the Abrahamic Accord. I don't know which one first. It would be the biggest deal of Saudi Arabia finally gives into that to be able to get under the security umbrella of Israel, given that it works very well with the UAE. This is not going to save their economy until the Islamic Republic falls. It's going to convince more Arab countries that the Islamic Republic need to fall, that the strategy of appeasement doesn't work, that there's only one solution to this. to all of this mess. Their economy is going to get more and more hurt until the Shah is back, until there's a Shah in the Middle East. They realized that the only reason why they had stability in the Middle East at some point, it was because Iran had a Shah, and they would be desperate to go back to having the Shah becoming the security guarantor of the region.
Beautifully said. Absolutely correct. Completely correct. Some of these Persian Gulf Arab countries are completely complicit, or at least they have the knowledge to be. According to the foremost oil expert in the Iranian opposition, Said Qassainejad, also the right-hand man of His Royal Highness Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, said that a Panamanian flag tanker is carrying 350,000 barrels of Iranian oil to the UAE. I think you guys can all figure out what's going to happen in the UAE. Some of the ships are going to, change oil. Some oil goes on that ship, some on that ship. The regime gets to sell their oil and make some money. So this looks like their competitive adaptation of the IRGC to get around the blockade is to, hey, if our ships can't go through the blockade, the UAE ships can. Let's just put our oil on their ships. And the UAE government is definitely aware of this. Now, this might be a private sector thing, but they are most definitely aware of this 100%. So the Persian Gulf Arab countries, again, guys, have their own objectives, most of which are actually completely against the objectives of the Iranian people. So we'll keep an eye on that. We are going to show you guys now the rampage that Donald Trump just went on today, an absolute massacre on Truth Social. It was quite frankly absolutely insane. I'm just going to pull up Truth Social because I think there's like 10 of them that he posted. Some pretty provocative things. Most people are going to be pointing out. So let's start with the biggest one. And it looks like, oh, did he actually go in and delete them? That's very interesting. No, I don't think so. I think they're still there. That would be very, very funny. Okay. Let's show you guys one of them here. For example, this one. Goodbye, engine room of the Islamic Republic oil tankers. And there's one other one about Kharg Island. If I can pull that up for you guys as well. We can actually find that together here. So I think it's just a Congo line of different memes that Donald Trump has posted in provocation of the IRGC. Just F-35s dropping bombs on what it looks like down there to be Iran. We just keep going down the line here. I think he just told ChatGPT to, give him more versions of the same thing at this point, because it's just, let's keep going here. There was the Kharg Island one. We got this one, FAFO. And guys, when he posts a lot of Truth Social things, right, like these, he's got some time on his hands. So there's nothing crazy happening right now or today. He's taking maybe a day off even, because what he does is he stands in the Oval Office. He's sitting at his desk, and there's an assistant there next to him, and he dictates to the assistant verbally, I want you to make this and post it on Truth Social. So the assistant types into ChatGPT, Donald Trump sitting on oil tanker hoisting American flag, and his assistant makes that for him. So it's a pretty funny story there. In fact, there's just multiple versions of the same thing going on over and over again. I mean, he posted this like 50 different times. Look at this one is a good one, because you got these people, I think, Durkas in what appears to be bathrobes getting kicked off an oil tanker here. But the one, again, we just got more and more. But the one that people are pointing to is this one. He's starting to post this again. Seems to be a little bit of a cycle, and that's Kharg Island. So it looks like this is back on people's menus to talk about. And it seems like if you You guys want to see what
Wow.
Kharg Island actually is. So if we look into the Persian Gulf here, Kharg Island is that little dot. The Strait of Hormuz is all the way over here, right? So this is Kharg Island. You can actually see all the oil infrastructure over here. You can see where the ships are actually docking and getting oil from, and it's all the way up there. But we do happen to be striking this area extremely heavily in the last 14 days, didn't we, guys? Covered that for you guys as well. So the line of blockade is right here. Pretty much covers this area right here, about 250 miles. And why would you need to take Kharg Island if you can just simply blockade any ships coming and going? Well, the question is, and the answer to that question is, Kharg Island has a lot of storage and refinery capacities. And if you take that, you pretty much immediately start bankrupting the Islamic Republic in terms of oil. All of their oil needs to come here. It sits in these tankers, then it gets loaded up onto the ships. If you get rid of that, they can't keep parking ships there and loading on oil, acting as floating storages. I mean, do you think we could potentially see a southern invasion include Kharg Island, even though it's so far up in the Persian Gulf?
So two issues. First of all, yes, if they take Kharg Island, that would devastate the Islamic Republic. So that's a huge problem for the Islamic Republic. But there's two problems with it. One, it's completely in sight of the Islamic Republic's rocket launchers and drone bases. So the American soldiers will be very vulnerable there without like a defense system being there. So they will be. It's a very risky operations. Two, um, the if you take Kharg Island, the Islamic Republic wouldn't be able to put a lot of like it would really hinder their ability to put oil out there, which is bad for the Islamic Republic. But that also means that there will be so much less oil in the markets, which I don't know if the world or United States oil reserves could tolerate that. It could also be a bluff that that's a thing that they are that worried about, but it might. I mean, it's likely not. But the thing is that people are like, okay, well, if you go take Kharg Island, there's so much oil sitting there, just go take that and then put it in the market or whatever, and that will solve the problem. Okay, the issue is that would be a one-time solution, because which might be give you a buffer for a short period of time, but the problem is that then Kharg Island itself doesn't produce any oil. It's where the oil comes to get on the oil tankers, right? It's like the reason why Kharg Island is works for this is because the surrounding water areas is the depth is like exactly what you need for like big oil tankers, right? So that's why it's a very strategic island that you could do this around. However, uh, once you take over the island, then the Islamic Republic is not going to send oil that it extracts from all its oil wells to Kharg Island for it then to go to the rest of the world. So you might get a one-time payment, but then you're not going to get. It's going to stop. Like there's like obviously the Americans can't just go and start operating all the oil wells. There's like these are government employees. Like what are you going to do? Like you can't. Like the oil is going to stop coming to it. So that's going to be very difficult to do. One thing you could do to take Kharg Island, um, I mean, if you wanted to do Kharg Island, you need to do two things. You need to ramp up oil production from so many other places. I don't know, maybe Iraq, Venezuela, uh, Alaska, the monkey was suggesting, to be able to replace to basically get a bit cushion, but that will take a long time to have any effect. Another thing you should be doing is basically keep how we have seen day like 12 days 11 days of bombardments, 13 days has been, yeah, of bombardments on southern Iran to basically remove radars, launching missile launchers, everything that could be a threat to the American soldiers on any of the island in southern Iran. You need to do that a lot more because the Islamic Republic is still able to throw missiles and drones and stuff. You need to go higher and you need to clear all that like you need to see like a few weeks of really aggressive attacks in southern Iran to be able to then have your Marines there without putting them in great risk, right? And honestly, if you want to, but taking Kharg Island again wouldn't open the Strait of Hormuz. It would just put a lot of pressure on the Islamic Republic. Another thing that would, like, if the Americans were interested in opening the Strait of Hormuz instead of taking over Kharg Island, they would do an aggressive push over taking over the islands around the Strait of Hormuz, like Qesh, Lark, uh, and Tomba Kuchik, Tomba Buzurg, Larak. I mean, so all of that. So because and also all the areas in southern Iran in the mainland right adjacent to the Strait of Hormuz. So you need to do a lot of bombardments into making sure that you take all the Islamic Republic's ability to be a threat to the Marines around that area, and then you move in and take over the islands. And then if you take over the islands, then you will be able to. So the Islamic Republic uses those islands over there to control the Strait, to try to try to control the Strait of Hormuz. If the Americans have that, everything will flip to the American side. But again, taking over the islands is one thing, holding them would be another thing, right? Because then you have to continuously have air support and continue to destroy, because the Islamic Republic keeps building new missiles, new missile launchers. And you need to maintain the bombardments for the Americans to be able to hold these islands. So this is long term. Short term, you might be able to do this. Long term, this is not sustainable. uh, the only thing that is sustainable is full
Yeah.
regime change, right? The only thing
Only
that is
option.
sustainable, and let me just cut to the chase. There is no solution here other than full regime change, right? And this is going to keep going. There's no way for the Islamic Republic to get out of this, and there is no way for the United States to get out of this, right? The Islamic Republic is not going to give up the Strait of Hormuz, and the United States is not going to let the Islamic Republic maintain control over the Strait of Hormuz, right? And you could keep using these other ways for to try to win this. Like, all of this is short term. Even if you get the Americans in those islands, then you need to stay there and keep supporting them. And as soon as you leave, they're going to come back and block the Strait of Hormuz. Now that you're in it, the only way that you're going to get the Strait of Hormuz free and accessible to international commercial ships, make it, like, again, open maritime trade available to all. The only way is regime change. You have to go for the head of the beast and get rid of them. And the only way to do that is not by a major ground invasion. It's not. It's the only way to do that is to support the Iranian people, is to arm the Iranian people and support the uprising of the Iranian people under the leadership of Princes of Pahlavi against the Islamic Republic.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.